Death Sansan Villano, truthless of Shinovar, wore white on the day he was to kill a king. Possessed of powers granted to him by a blade once wielded by a demigod, he carves a bloody path through the royal palace of Kholinar, where he finds his quarry. King Gavilar, a warrior and conqueror, faces his assassin head-on in a magical suit of armor, which makes him invincible against practically any foe. Unfortunately for him, the assassin in white is not just any foe. A year passes, and the kingdom of Alethkar fights for vengeance against the race of mysterious crab-like non-humans who ordered the death of their king. A slave, brought to the front lines of this conflict, is forced to carry bridges across the chasms of war. A young, sheltered noblewoman embarks on a heist to steal a priceless artifact from the greatest scholar in the world. An aging warlord contends with the treacherous politics of Alethkar's high princes, struggling to unite them against their common foe. As the fates of these three unlikely heroes become slowly entwined, an ancient evil slowly awakens. The Everstorm approaches, and the true desolation comes. Welcome to our series on the Stormlight Archive. Sit back, relax, and join us as in this first episode, we take you on a tour of the world of Roshar, introducing you to its people, its magics, and its fantastical alien landscape, before setting the stage for our retelling of one of modern fantasy's most compelling epic stories. Ultimately, this saga is rooted in the real world by the events and groups that inspired it, but a fantasy based in reality needn't travel beyond our time and galaxy. In fact, we've all the basis for heroics we need with our sponsor, Everyday Heroes. This is a tabletop RPG system for creating legends of the modern age. Craft an adventure starring unlikely heroes fresh off the street. For these adventures, you'll need farmers, scientists, drivers, teachers, priests, rich playboys and penniless students, and many more, all with skills and rules detailed in the game. What kind of adventure will it be? Probably one filled with explosive action. Everyday Heroes aims to reproduce action movie scenarios with your own personal twists. The core book comes with reams of useful ideas and data, including details on how to use loads of equipment and vehicles, and what kinds of challenges you're likely to battle on a quest to defeat the modern menace of your world. But you don't always need to come up with your own world. Everyday Heroes can be expanded with cinematic scenario books that use the game's rules to play out an epic rendition of various IPs, with thematic special rules and considerations. Based on the D20 Modern system, Everyday Heroes brings a 5th edition compatible update for those embarking on action-packed quests in the modern era. It's got a perfect score on drive-thru, and it's easy to pick up if you've played any D&D before. Check it all out via our link in the description. The Stormlight Archive is the brainchild of modern fantasy's most prolific author, Brandon Sanderson. It takes place on the planet of Roshar, which is part of the Cosmere, the interstellar universe in which all of Sanderson's other popular fantasy series also take place. There are 13 planets in the Rosharan solar system, 3 of which are inhabited. Ashin and Braze, the first and third planet from the Sun, are both home to sapient life, but Roshar, which orbits between them, is by far the most highly populated. As the name Stormlight Archive suggests, Roshar's defining feature is its extreme weather patterns. The planet's single supercontinent is regularly ravaged by massive, world-spanning hurricanes known as high storms. High storms are forces of incredible destructive power, traveling across the planet's surface at an average of 370 miles per hour. The storm wall, the leading edge of the tempest, manifests as a churning vortex of dust, water, and deracinated debris that strips the land bare and shreds anyone unlucky enough to face it head-on. High storms occur once every few days, always beginning in the east and blowing towards the west. They are strongest at their eastern origin, before slowly weakening as they progress westward. Life on Roshar has adapted to the reality of the high storms, resulting in a biosphere which appears bizarre and alien to people from Earth. There is no topsoil on the majority of the planet, for the unforgiving winds would strip it away. Most flora on Roshar are rock buds, a family of plant species which grow directly out of sheer stone and have stone-like shells. As an evolutionary adaptation against high storms, many plants on Roshar are highly reactive to motion and will retract into their shells, withdraw into cracks in the stone, or flatten against the ground when poked or stepped on. However, not all of Roshar's herbage is at the mercy of the winds. Scattered across the continent are lates, sheltered pockets of land protected from high storms by eastward-facing cliffs that break the winds. Lates are to storm-ravaged Roshar what oases are to a desert, places where plant life grows more densely than anywhere else on the planet. The vast majority of animals on Roshar are crustaceans, with thick shells that protect them from the extreme weather of their natural habitat. These vary wildly in size and ecological niche, from tiny skittering kremlings to massive creatures like the reclusive marine santhid or the vicious man-eating chasm fiend. Even animals domesticated by humans are crab-like. On Roshar, wagons are not pulled by oxen but by lumbering six-legged chulls, and the beloved family pet isn't a darling golden retriever but a hexapedal fish-tailed axehound. The one exception to Roshar's surreal ecology is the land of Shinovar. Protected from the high storms by an impenetrable mountain range, Shinovar's landscape is noticeably more Earth-like in character, featuring rich soil, grassy plains, and a variety of mammal and bird species like horses, pigs, chickens, and chickens. In a humorous inversion of our own Earth-like sensibilities, most cultures on Roshar consider Shinovar to be an unsettlingly alien land. As bizarre and dreamlike as Roshar is, its dominant sapient species is one most familiar indeed. Human civilization can be found in nearly every corner of the supercontinent, organized mostly into feudal or tribal societies. Despite being soft, squishy creatures with no protective carapace, humanity has learned to thrive in this wind-beaten world with settlements designed to withstand high storms, built within the protective embrace of sheltered lates, tucked into steep canyons, or manually carved into the ground itself. Roshar is a planet of remarkable cultural diversity. However, many of its nations share the most dominant religion in the land, Vorinism. Vorinism is a monotheistic faith which worships a god called the Almighty, the creator of mankind. Vorin scripture teaches that in a time before time, humanity lived in the loving embrace of their creator in a heavenly realm known as the Tranquiline Halls. All was idyllic until heaven was attacked by the Voidbringers, wicked creatures forged in a hellish dimension called Damnation. Mankind fled to Roshar, where they battled with the Voidbringers time and time again. During each of these wars, humankind was led by a pantheon of 10 immortal demigods, known as the Heralds, 5 men and 5 women chosen by the Almighty himself to guide humanity to victory. Each herald led an order of warriors who collectively were known as the Knights Radiant, with the Voidbringers often manifesting as massive, stone-skinned monsters, impervious to regular weapons of iron and bronze. The Almighty bestowed the Heralds and the Radiants with Shardblades, invincible, divinely blessed weapons capable of carving through the hellish hordes. Finally came Aharietium, the Last Desolation, where the Voidbringers were defeated for the final time and cast back into the Tranquiline Halls. The Heralds pursued, leaving humanity to rebuild their lives on Roshar as they ascended heavensward to drive the demons from the Almighty's hallowed realm. Some generations later, the Knights Radiant, now without the guidance of the Heralds, laid down their blades and turned their backs on humanity in an event known as the Day of Recreance. According to most estimates, the Last Desolation occurred over 4,500 years ago. In the modern age, the Voidbringers, the Heralds, and the Knights Radiant are naught but distant memories. Today, living in a Vorin nation means being subject to a docket of restrictive social norms. For one thing, Vorin society is deeply gendered. War and politics are considered the domain of men, while literature, art, and scholarship are the exclusive province of women. To Vorins, the idea of a female soldier is considered deeply improper, but then again, so too is the idea of a man who can read and write. Since feminine arts are often defined as that which can be done one-handed, Vorin women are expected to cover up their left hands, known as their safe hands, while in public. Vorin society is not just gender restrictive, but class restrictive as well. In Vorin kingdoms, there exists a rigid caste system predicated on eye color. Those with light-colored eyes are born to rule, while those with dark-colored eyes are born to serve. Royalty and nobility in Vorin kingdoms are exclusively light-eyed, with hues of azure blue, bright hazel, violet, yellow, and emerald green, while peasants are exclusively dark-eyed, with irises of muddled brown and black. A light-eyed woman must be a distinguished scholar, while a dark-eyed woman might be a humble seamstress. Light-eyed men are battalion lords, while dark-eyed men are restricted to being drill sergeants and common foot soldiers. The various kingdoms that follow the Vorin faith are all unique in their own way, and there are also many nations and tribes who are not Vorin at all. Let us use this as a segue to do a survey of some of Roshar's cultures and peoples. The Alethi are a stoic people, distinguishable by their tan skin, straight black hair, and their tall stature. Devoutly Vorin, the Alethi variant of the faith considers soldiery to be a man's highest religious calling. Consequently, the Alethi are a bellicose people, constantly warring both against their neighbours and among themselves. Where the Alethi are proud and aloof, the Hadazian people are tight-knit, passionate, and rambunctious. Their most distinctive physical characteristics are their crystalline slate-like fingernails, which hint at some non-human blood in their distant ancestry. Although mostly found in the Kingdom of Hadaz, there are large Hadazian diaspora communities in Alethkar and Jakaved. Native to the southern Kingdom of Thelena, the Thaylen people are instantly recognizable by their exceptionally long white eyebrows, which they often ornament with jewelry. The Thaylens are a thalassocratic people, and are bar none Roshar's most skilled sailors. They are also its most prolific tradesmen, with Thaylen merchants being found in every port, market and bazaar on the continent. In stark contrast to the worldly Thaylens are the reclusive, mountain-dwelling Unkalaki. A stout people with distinctive red hair and pale skin, they tower over most other humans, even the Alethi. Living in villages nestled against warm thermal hot springs, high in the otherwise frigid Hornita peaks, the Unkalaki are known for their strong teeth and jaws. As such, their eating habits involve crunching directly down on Roshar's various edible crustaceans, thick shells and all. The Makibaki people, who populate the Empire of Azir and its many client states, are short in stature and dark brown in skin. Unlike the Unkalaki, they are not a Vorin people, so their rulers are not determined by eye colour. The government in Azir is a scholarly meritocracy. Even the position of Emperor or Prime Acquisix is determined by who can write the most convincing essay. Indeed, the Makibaki are an extremely litigious bunch, and have an official application process for everything, from special dietary restrictions to engaging in a same-sex relationship. This slavish devotion to bureaucracy makes their society inflexible but also stable. Civil wars and succession crises are unheard of in Azir, for they would require too much paperwork. The last human society on Roshar we will mention are the Shin, a xenophobic people rarely seen outside of their homeland of Shinovar, which, as previously mentioned, is the only region of Roshar with an Earth-like ecology. A pale-skinned people, the Shin are the only humans on Roshar who lack epicanthic folds on their eyes, giving them a wide-eyed, almost childlike appearance to most outsiders. The Shin consider stone to be sacred, and consider walking on it to be blasphemy. They have a subversive hierarchy, where farmers, those who grow, are held in the highest regard, and warriors, those who destroy, are considered little more than slaves. Another sapient species that inhabits Roshar are the Parshmen. Humanoid, but not quite human, the Parshmen look strikingly alien, with void black eyes that lack irises and two-coloured marbled skin, featuring swirling patterns of red and black or red and white. Parshmen have extremely limited intelligence, and as such are exploited by humanity, who have reduced them into a slave labour force. Strangely, the Parshmen have responded to their indenturement with an almost robotic indifference. They obey orders without question, and when left to their own devices, they don't try to escape, but simply sit there mindlessly. Parshmen can be found in every human nation, where they are bought and sold as chattel and made to perform the most menial of labours. Like most worlds in the Cosmere, Roshar is replete with investiture, the esoteric essence which powers the various magic systems of Sanderson's stories. Magic is in Roshar's very breath, for as high storms blow from east to west, they blanket the land in a white gaseous vapour known as Stormlight, a substance of raw, untapped investiture. Another manifestation of investiture on Roshar are small spirit-like beings known as Spren, which dot its landscape. There are thousands of unique forms of Spren, all of whom are drawn to a specific natural phenomenon or emotion. For example, windspren take the form of ethereal ribbons of light twirling in the breeze, while flamespren appear as tiny humanoid figures made of congealed light dancing about in flickering fireplaces. Laughterspren, minnow-like silver spirits, might appear among a group of friends after the telling of a knee-slapping joke, while painspren, like small orange hands, often crawl out of the ground around wounded soldiers. Most spren appear to be mindless, no more sapient than the base concepts they embody. Throughout their many millennia on Roshar, humanity has learned how to harness the magic energy of their world. During high storms, people leave out specialized gemstones which absorb stormlight, causing the gemstones to develop a bright glow. These infused gemstones are used for various purposes, but most often as a source of light or as a form of currency. In recent years, scholars have discovered ways of capturing spren inside infused gemstones, which are used to power devices known as fabrials. Fabrial is a generic term for a variety of contraptions which, depending on the combination of spren and gemstone, perform a variety of functions. For example, a flamespren trapped inside a ruby can be harnessed in a fabrial which can be used to heat up a room. One of the most common types of fabrial is the spanreed, which allows scribes across the continent to transmit messages to one another across thousands of miles almost instantaneously. Technology on Roshar is ever evolving, and every year more and more breakthroughs are being made that makes the world smaller and the lives of everyday people easier. However, these modern innovations pale in comparison to the magical wonders of Roshar's ancient past, remnants of which are still found in societies across the planet to this day. Soulcasters are a type of ancient fabrial capable of altering the state of matter itself. The advantages even a single soulcaster can provide are immense. For example, on a construction site, a soulcaster that transmutes sand into stone can accomplish more in a day than 100 manual laborers would in a week. Perhaps the most important form of soulcaster are those which transform stone into grain, capable of producing infinite food, so long as they can be consistently supplied with gemstones to power them. The process of creating soulcasters has been lost to the ages, and try as they might, modern scholars have been unable to recreate them. The Vorin Church teaches that soulcasters were created in the long-lost Shadow Days, and were one of the Almighty's gifts to humanity during the Wars of Desolation against the Voidbringers. Incidentally, this is also what the Church says about by far the most culturally influential yet utterly destructive remnant of those bygone days. In many ways, power, war, and politics in Roshar revolve around the possession of Shardblades and Shardplate. According to Vorin legend, Shardblades were first carried by the Knights Radiant uncounted ages ago in their wars against the demonic Voidbringers. Shardblades cut effortlessly through inanimate material, gliding through rock and steel as effortlessly as a hot knife through butter. When a Shardblade passes through a living person, it does not physically tear open that person's flesh, but severs his life force. If a Shardblade passes through a limb, that limb will never move again. If a Shardblade touches a man's spine, he dies instantly, his eyes burning up and shriveling into coals. Normal armor is useless against a Shardblade. Indeed, the only thing which can protect a man from the weapons of the Lost Radiance is the armor of the Lost Radiance, Shardplate. On a Rosharan battlefield, a Shardbearer equipped with both blade and plate is practically an invincible weapon of mass destruction, capable of cutting down hundreds if not thousands of normal soldiers with ease, only counterable by another Shardbearer. As such, throughout the continent, a nation's power and political prestige are directly linked to how many shards it owns. When the Knights Radiant still watched over the land, these marvels were commonplace. However, in the current age, they have become exceptionally rare. Over the centuries, monarchs have traded palaces, cities, and even entire kingdoms in exchange for them. It is unclear how many sets of Shardplate remain on Roshar today, but there are only around 100 Shardblades. Of these, the kingdoms of Alithkar and Jakaved own the most, at around 20 apiece. The Thalans possess 5 Shardblades, which they keep in the hands of their royal guard, while the Hadazians have 1 passed down through their royal family. In the west, Shardblades are more rare. The Azish Empire possesses only a handful, which they loan out to their client states, while the Iriali, like the Hadazians, possess only 1. In the year 1169, King Gavilar of Alethkar went on a hunting trip east, into the sparsely inhabited and largely unexplored hills near the origins of the storms. There he discovered something remarkable, a hitherto unknown tribe of non-human peoples with pitch-black eyes and marbled skin of red-white and red-black. They looked very much like the meek, mindless Parshmen who served as slaves throughout Alethkar. But unlike them, this tribe was intelligent, armed with their own weapons, and possessed of their own language and culture. Utterly fascinated by these Parshendi, these Parshmen who can think, King Gavilar forged an alliance with them and invited them to attend a feast in his royal palace of Kholinar. Unbeknownst to him, the events of that feast would trigger a chain of events that rocked Alethkar to its core and put all of Roshar in peril. In our next episode on the Stormlight Archive, we will begin our retelling of the real history of Roshar, starting with the truth behind the Heralds, the Knights Radiant, and the Desolations. To ensure you don't miss that, make sure you are subscribed and have pressed the bell button. Please consider liking, commenting, and sharing, it helps immensely. Our videos would be impossible without our kind patrons and YouTube channel members, whose ranks you can join via the links in the description to know our schedule, get early access to our videos, access our Discord, and much more. This is the Wizards and Warriors channel, and we will catch you on the next one.